Argentina's Senate narrowly approved key state overhaul and tax packages proposed by President Javier Milei, delivering an initial legislative victory to the libertarian leader in his efforts to enact his promises of radical change. Senators voted 37 to 36 to give their overall approval to the state overhaul bill after 11 hours of heated debate, in a reflection of the fierce backlash to the legislation and deep polarization gripping Argentina's Congress. The vice president cast the tie-breaking vote. Lawmakers still must approve measures in an article-by-article vote that will last overnight. If the Senate approves modifications, the lower house still has to okay them before Milei can claim his first legislative win since entering office. The House has voted to hold Attorney General Merrick Garland in contempt of Congress for refusing to turn over audio of President Joe Biden's interview in his classified documents case. It is a move that comes just weeks after the White House blocked release of the recording to lawmakers. The contempt action represents House Republicans' latest and strongest rebuke of the Justice Department and of Garland's leadership. And it's playing out against the backdrop of an extraordinary conflict over the rule of law that has animated the presidential campaign. But it is unlikely that the Justice Department, which Garland oversees, negotiators for the Group of Seven have reached an agreement on a plan to provide Ukraine with $50 billion backed by frozen Russian assets. Two people familiar with the matter told the Associated Press. President Joe Biden and President Volodymyr Zelenskyy will also sign a security agreement Thursday between the U.S. and Ukraine when they meet on the sidelines of the G7 summit in Italy, aiming to send a signal to Russia of American resolve in supporting Kiev. Biden, who's fearful of being pulled into direct conflict between the nuclear-armed powers, is not committing U.S. troops to Ukraine, the administration said. Biden plans to meet with his counterparts from the world's leading democracies, who have an urgency to get big things done.
Several immigrant advocacy groups are suing the Biden administration over President Joe Biden's directive last week to stop asylum processing at the southern border. They say it's no different than a similar ban under the Trump administration that was ultimately blocked in the courts. Biden's order limits asylum claims once encounters with migrants between ports of entry reach 2,500 per day. It went into effect immediately. Lee Gallant, who is leading the legal challenge, says the groups had no choice but to sue because it was legally indistinguishable from former President Donald Trump's actions. Southern Baptists have expressed alarm over the way in vitro fertilization is routinely being practiced at their annual meeting in Indianapolis. They approved a resolution lamenting that the creation of surplus frozen embryos often results in destruction of embryonic human life. They urged members to carefully weigh the ethical implications of the technology, and they expressed sympathy with couples who experience the searing pain of infertility. The resolution affirms that embryos are human beings from the moment of fertilization, whether in the womb or generated in the laboratory via IVF. The resolution also urged couples to adopt surplus frozen embryos that would otherwise... Dangerous flooding from a tropical disturbance has inundated much of southern Florida, blocking roads, floating vehicles, and delaying the Florida Panthers on their way to Stanley Cup games in Canada against the Edmonton Oilers. The disorganized storm system was pushing across Florida from the Gulf of Mexico on Wednesday, bringing extended periods of heavy rain across much of the state. In Fort Lauderdale, the mayor declared a state of emergency late Wednesday afternoon due to flooded thoroughfares near the city's downtown. In nearby Hollywood, drivers also encountered rising water across residential streets for much of the afternoon. Governor Ron DeSantis also declared a state of emergency in
Jason Tatum scored 31 points, and the Boston Celtics held off a furious Dallas rally to reach the brink of a record 18th championship with a 106-99 victory over the Mavericks for a 3-0 lead in the NBA Finals. No team has rallied from 3-0 down in an NBA playoff series. Jaylen Brown had 30 points, 8 rebounds, and 8 assists as the Celtics extended their franchise record with a 10th consecutive playoff victory. The Mavs almost pulled off a crazy comeback to avoid the big hole. Boston led 91-70 at the end of a 25 run early in the fourth quarter before Dallas answered with a 22-2 spurt to get within a point. Republicans loyal to Donald Trump are largely echoing the former president's claim that the Justice Department has treated President Joe Biden's son with kid gloves while zealously prosecuting Trump. They used Hunter Biden's conviction Tuesday for charges related to buying a gun while addicted to drugs to press unsubstantiated or debunked allegations that Joe Biden acted while vice president to advance his family members' foreign business interests. Trump's campaign issued a statement calling the verdict nothing more than a distraction from the real crimes of the Biden crime family. This has been Dunkley Now.